How are you doing? This is Alex, and as you can tell, welcome to another episode of Valet Stories. But wait, Alex, where have you been? It's been 6 months. We haven't seen a post, we've been commenting, we've been watching your videos, and waiting eagerly for something more. Well, first, I must say I'm truly sorry. There's so much that I've been going through personally and company-wide that I think I need to address. The biggest one and the biggest shock to our family has been my father passed away suddenly, and it wasn't expected. So with that comes a lot of administrative stuff that I have to do to take care of the family as well as my mother. So that takes a big portion of my time, and it took a lot to recover. So that's part of it right there. Along with that, I lost one of my biggest accounts. One of the biggest accounts I had over 15 years. We lost it suddenly. And it was kind of shocking. And honestly, I have to tell you, it was a hit against my ego. I can talk to you about all the positive things about Valet Stories and Valet Company and how successful you can be, but we've never really discussed how to deal with the emotions of losing an account. Did we do something wrong? Obviously. What else transpired to cause that to happen? Why was I not able to remedy this situation? And I was a little upset, and that's probably the hardest part. I had been with this restaurant for 15 years, and they didn't give me an opportunity to sit down and say, hey, Alex, this is what we're not happy with. In fact, the person who decided to terminate us never even gave me a reason. I had to go climb the ladder to figure out why they were terminating us. And later I found out it was probably 20% of poor service, which I'll explain in a little bit, but the other 75% was financial. Another company came in, and I think they were coming in for free, and they were going to do the job that we were doing and hopefully do a better job than what we were offering at that moment. The reason I say that because I actually had issues with some of my newer valets. Let me explain how I used to do things and now how I have to do things. Back in the day, I used to always say, hey, if you're an employee of my company, you had to work your way up. I made you, honestly, for the lack of a better word, eat crap. I make you work some of the dirtier lots, the harder lots, to see if your heart was with our company. But I can't do that anymore. If I try to do that with today's market and today's staff, I don't want to say they're too soft, but they're not going to put up with it because there's so much opportunity for them out there. They're not going to sit there and wait and earn their way up to a job. I had valets work on these lots, the poorer lots, or the rougher lots, or the more difficult lots. That's a better way of putting it. For 6 months before they saw the light of some of the nicer restaurants that we had, the 5-star restaurants. But now, in today's time, in 2020 and beyond, we have to put some of these new guys on these brand new lots. And I hate it because, honestly, I don't think they deserve it. And it showed, and that's what happened. These valets got too comfortable, and they felt they deserved these parking lots where they were making $20 and $30 an hour right off the top. You're parking cars, remember? You're not a dentist, or I'm not saying dentists get paid that amount, but anything just on a smaller scale. You could literally be a nurse and not even make that amount of money that you have to deal with, and that's changing blood and bedpans and all these different things. You're parking cars. But that's what these valets had come to expect, and it was really pissing me off. So, to be honest, part of me, when we lost that account, I was actually kind of happy so I didn't have to deal with these arrogant valets anymore. Now, with that being said, I moved on and I said, you know what? Let me open another division of our company. And I did, and it's called Porters. And Porters, what we are, we work for dealerships. We work for dealerships on a daily basis, and we work in the service department. We are the ones that move the cars around the property. And there's a lot involved when it comes to that. You're constantly moving cars. We're washing cars at certain locations, automatic car washes. We don't have to physically wash them. And so many things that are associated with that. So taking on a dealership is a big project. And I turned around and we got 1, 2. A couple of weeks later, we got a third one. This week, I've gotten a 4th call and a 5th call from major companies, including Porsche and Mercedes-Benz, that want to move forward because they've heard we're doing such an incredible job. Now, the flip side of that is it's an extreme amount of work. And it's not difficult, but for me coming on board, I'm actually out there in the field I'm not just explaining to the dealerships that, hey, we're going to move cars. I'm actually streamlining what we can do to make their operation more efficient, from the technicians to the service writers to everybody involved. So we come in there and say, this is what we're doing. And we, not to toot our own horns, we're doing a really good job, but it requires a lot of work. Sometimes I'm out in these parking lots for 9-10 hours a day, and I'm tired. Obviously, I have the rest of the company that still needs to be ran properly, but at the same time, I'm trying to put all my effort into these dealerships to make sure we are on par. I've already had like a 10-page manual created just for these parking lots, and I'm actually pretty happy with the way they're going. Now, with all this additional work coming in, I'm sad to say I actually have to turn some of it down. I can't do it. I'm stretching myself way too long. The fact that you're seeing me here right now, that means we are now regulated where everything is kind of on cruise control and it's working properly. But we can't continue at this pace. I'm learning that each one of these dealerships needs a full-time supervisor watching the other valets at all times. And typically what happens, we have 2 or 3 out there that are working and moving. And trust me, we're going to get into some deep stories because we've been out these dealerships for 4 months already, and boy, do I have stories. Anyway, that's the dealership side of it. And then, since we're fully on transparency, let me explain management with my company. We had a very good manager up until a certain point, and prior to COVID, unfortunately, I had to release him. I found out that he was stealing money from valets, in a sense, kind of a Ponzi scheme. And what I mean by that, the manager would take the money from the valets and borrow it and say, I'll pay you back next week. So let's say Johnny, hey Johnny, I'll pay you back next week. Next week he'd take money from Chris, pay it back to Johnny, and then it just kept going. Next week was Anthony, the next week was Michael, and all of a sudden I look up and there's over a $7,000 bill because he had done that so much. And all the valets were in a sense protecting him. They never told me what was going on. Of course, I got furious. I paid all the valets back, and the manager had to be terminated. And that was a very difficult decision because that manager was in place for almost 10 years. Now, my mindset was, hey, let me do the job. Let me see and work this job for like 2 or 3 months and see what has to be done so I can relearn the job of the manager, because a lot of things obviously he was tasked with that I wasn't privy to every single day. I now had to put my hand back into it and see exactly what needs to be done in terms of scheduling, in terms of management, and all the other stuff that you guys really don't see the backside of. Well, with that being said, what happens in 2020? We get into the 2nd or 3rd month, boom, we hit COVID. So everything shuts down. Now the benefit is, obviously now I don't have to pay for a manager, but the other side is, okay, the company's now shrinking down in size because we're losing employees left and right because we can no longer employ them because all of the restaurants are shut down. Moving forward, I said, okay, let me just relearn the job. And then as we're hiring new people, obviously I'm looking at, okay, who has potential to be a new manager? I like to hire from within because they learn the job. And again, through my old nitty gritty, you're working your way up to management level. Well, a year went by and I'm still doing the job and we are still growing. And I'm like, honestly, there's no real potential for a true manager with the company. I still have to keep my hand in this, and I really didn't like it. Anyway, keep moving forward. And I put the feelers out there for a couple of senior guys, and one actually did step forward. So I am actually training our new manager as we speak. But I would like to go back to and thank everybody really who's reached out to me and said, hey, Alex, are you okay? Are you still producing videos and all these different things? Some people even said, hey, financially, it must not have been worth it for you. I do not do this for the money. YouTube does not pay me any kind of money that makes it worth it. In fact, I don't even think I've broken even on my camera equipment yet. But I do it because I enjoy it. I enjoy sharing the time and the moments with you guys. And sometimes when crazy stuff happens in a field, it gives me a sense of relief that I can sit there and say, hey, you know what? This is going to be a funny story to share. So I have to get some type of laugh about it. But you guys love the stories. You love the experiences. Hang tight. I have a lot of great stories coming up really soon, and some sad stories that happen not necessarily with my company, but some other things I do want to address out in this industry. I also had a lot of people reach out because they would like to start the valet company. And yes, I am talking about a lot of great things outside of the accidents, but I have to get to the nitty-gritty of these other things about liability and about court proceedings and all these different things that you have to deal with when you get to a certain level of success. So please stay tuned. Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm still getting people reaching out from all over the world. I'm getting from India, I'm getting from Pakistan. I actually got one from Australia last week or the week before. So it really warms my heart. I'm glad you guys are watching, and I promise I will be back soon.